Packers suck.
Ryan, how much do you take into account, or should you?
Third down, Fields. There's room to run for Fields. Oh, turn it on to speed.
Wake up. This is High Bear Nation.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting edition of Out of High Bear Nation. I am Ace. Along with me tonight, we have Joey and Turtle. What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Pretty well, you guys.
It's negative 100 degrees, and I'm pretty tired of being cold. But, well, I mean, we could start a couple different places. There's some Bears topics we could touch on, or we could jump into the super wild card weekend that just passed us.
You're steering the ship.
All right. Well, the playoffs were more fun than the Bears, so let's talk about the Bears first. I don't know if you guys had gotten a chance to see the Mel Kiper thing about Justin Fields and Caleb Williams. I'm going to play it real quick, and then I'd like you guys to give me your thoughts on what he says.
I'm crying over.
Not it. Hold on. Hold on.
Live TV, folks.
Damn. Hold up. I'm gonna get it. Maybe I won't get it. Anyways, he basically came on. He was with Field Yates, and they were talking about potential options at the number one pick that the Bears could look at trading. And he thinks that the Bears draft Caleb Williams and recoup some draft capital by trading Justin Fields to Atlanta at the number 8 spot. So you would theoretically get the 1st, 8th, and 9th pick in the draft this year. So let's let me get Turtle. Let me get your take on this. I know you've been kind of on my side about the whole draft situation. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, so if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna trade Justin Fields, I mean, first off, let's discuss the elephant in the room. I don't think you can get the 8th overall pick for Justin Fields. If you're Atlanta, you might as well stay there and draft a quarterback at 8 that you can reset the clock with, rather than it makes more sense for the Bears to build around Fields than it would for somebody to trade for Fields, unless you're giving up like a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick even. And I think we saw in the offseason, albeit mostly receivers, but the trade market just isn't. Guys, teams aren't giving up 1st round picks for players. There's no reason to. But I just don't think it makes sense for the Bears to take a quarterback. And we've talked about it on our show, on Turtle's Take, on this show. For many reasons, if you're Ryan Poles, your job's on the line. You're not going to say, like, outside of Houston with CJ Stroud, where you literally is the exception to the rule, you don't compete with a rookie quarterback. You just don't. Even Peyton Manning set the record for interceptions as a rookie. Like, guys make mistakes as rookies. It's what happens. So I don't think that Ryan Poles' best move to keep his job is to go draft a quarterback that you don't know what you're getting, and you don't know You know, I don't know. Obviously, if he walks in the door and he's Pat Mahomes, okay, you can compete. But what if he's not? What if he's Jalen Hurts?
But even Patrick Mahomes sat, you know.
But
So
I mean,
if,
like he played the last game of his rookie year, and he looked like he looks now. Like we were like, oh wow, it's a really good game.
right.
But I mean, what if he's Jalen Hurts? What if he's Josh Allen? What if he's all these guys, Carson Wentz, all these guys that even are good now? Obviously, Carson Wentz had a couple decent years, but like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, guys that are you would consider elite, but they weren't their first year or first 2 years. Everyone says, well, wait till year 3. Well, everything the Bears are doing is to start competing and contending. You don't then double down on that by going and getting a rookie quarterback
Right.
to reset things. You've got the 5th most cap space in football after signing Montez Sweat. So you're not going to go buy free or pay for free agents and, you know, spend that cap space to not compete. So you're going to go reset the clock. Justin's not 28 years old. Like you could pick up the 5th-year option. It only costs you, you know, I think it's like $18 million for his 5th year, which
Right.
which at this rate is a bargain for a starting quarterback. For all the people, you know, whatever side, it's obviously a very polarizing topic, but whatever side of the argument you're on, whether you think Justin Fields is the guy, whether you think Justin Fields isn't the guy, I don't know where I'm at with it. I don't know that Justin's ever going to be the guy that you win because of, but I definitely think he's a guy you can win with.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't think you always talk about like you want a quarterback who's not going to cost you the game. I think he puts the team in the best position to win most of the time. They just, especially this season, were just terrible at closing out games, you know? And I think you look at, I love your thought process on the whole, why, if you take a rookie quarterback, you're taking one step back automatically, right? You're looking at a situation where with Caleb Williams, there's going to be that learning curve. And are you going to be able to compete the following year, hoping that Caleb Williams is the guy that you're expecting him to be? You look at a lot of these first round draft picks, these quarterbacks that go number 1, number 2, you know, you were listing off a few, and not a lot of them turn out to be these, you know, absolute stud quarterbacks. You know, you look at guys like Russell Wilson or Tom Brady, Brock Purdy, you know, all these guys, they were drafted later rounds. I'm not saying that, you know, that's what the Bears need to do, draft a guy in the 4th round and hope he becomes Russell Wilson. But a situation where you're looking at Justin and you're sitting there, you're thinking, okay, well, I got 2 years control. We're not getting rid of the coach. The whole press conference, all you did was talk about continuity with the team. What kind of continuity are you going to have if you get rid of the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, but just keep the coach? You know, Joey, I'd like your thought on all this with Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields.
Well, as I stated before, like I'm on the whole Justin Fields bandwagon. A lot of stuff that they're doing, you know, they did a lot of interviews, and I've been trying to, you know, me personally, you know, in our group chat, we've been, you know, me and Michael been going back and forth, you know, and I took the time and I literally stayed here for an hour and a half today, you know, on my break and all that, watching film on, and I completely agree with what Turtle said, you know, like you can't, you know, you go get a quarterback, we are going to take a few steps back. Right now, what they're doing is, you know, they're doing the right things. They're not going to come out and say, oh, we're sticking with Justin. I mean, they hinted it, but I mean, at the same time, like, how can I put it? Like, it's a very tough subject right now. I mean, me personally, it's just like I said. I mean, I'm not taking a quarterback. I'm going to see what I can get and then go from there. I mean, unless Atlanta does say, hey, listen, we will give you the 8th overall pick for Fields. Well, then, I mean, if this is what everyone wants, then what's best for business, then go for it. I mean,
if they want to give you the 8th overall pick for Justin Fields, I am driving Justin to the airport myself.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, I like Justin, but you drafted him 12th overall, so you're having a guy that's been shaky at best the last 3 seasons, very inconsistent, and you're going to get more for him.
And
I
that's
would
the
do
thing.
that.
Like, I sit here and I watch like Fields. He's already proven. He's proven what he can do on the field, off the field. And like I said, I went back and I'm watching film on Caleb and then May and all them, and it's just like it's the same issues that we have with Fields is the same thing we have with Caleb. I mean, he's holding on to the ball too long. He's a little slower than Fields. Like, yes, does he have a better arm? Yeah, 100%. Okay, fine. But does he make better, throws and all that? Yes, he does. But I mean, at the same time, like, yeah, that's college. Look at all the teams that Caleb has played, and then look at where Fields is. I mean, what Fields has done in the last couple of years. So it's like, what are we gonna do here? You want to restart everything, rebuild, and then go from there, or we add the missing pieces that we need, and then we go from there. I'm not saying we're gonna win a Super Bowl next year or whatever, but I mean, we're only a few pieces away from making the playoffs and making it far to the playoffs.
So a lot of this conversation, quarterback talk wise, offensive coordinator is going to be a huge thing, right? So we went over the list in our little group chat that we have. Turtle's been on this one for 6 weeks, maybe a little more.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Greg Roman, right? And the moment you brought his name up, because I honestly completely forgot all about the guy, but the moment you brought his name up, I automatically thought that if you bring him in, then you're staying with Justin Fields because he plays a very similar style football to Colin Kaepernick, to Lamar Jackson. He was there when Lamar Jackson had his MVP season. He helped develop Kaepernick into the threat that he was. I think if they go that route, they're telling you who they're keeping at quarterback. What do you guys think?
Well, here's the thing. If you look at all the candidates that they have interviewed so far, and they have interviewed 5 now,
yeah,
every offensive coordinator has like a great resume and has worked with proven quarterbacks or quarterbacks that are very similar to Fields. So what does that tell you? I mean, again, it's like I feel like they're trying to find the right piece to help Fields move forward.
So they interviewed Greg Roman,
Kubiak,
the
Cohen.
OC from Seattle, Cohen, and Olsen, right? And all those guys are part of the Shanahan little tree, you know what I mean? And you always look at coaches and they talk about, the Andy Reid's tree, right? Or who else? Shanahan's tree, right? All these guys that come from coaches that are offensive minded based, like Sean McVay or Matt LaFleur, all these guys, and they're interviewing guys that have similar styles and resumes as those guys.
And that work with mobile quarterbacks.
Right. Now, Turtle, I know you follow a little more closely in terms of offensive schemes and that kind of stuff, and what you feel I would like to know what you feel would work best for Fields if they decided to go in that direction.
Well, first, before I get into that, I think the one thing to keep in mind too is there's also all these coordinators everybody's looked at, everybody says, oh, well, it definitely means they're going to stay with Justin Fields, this and that. It could also mean that they really like oh my God, I just forgot his name, the kid from LSU.
Michael Penix Jr.?
No,
that's Washington.
Winner, is it?
Yeah. Hold on. I forget his name.
I can't believe I just forgot his name.
Jaden
Daniels?
True draft class. Hold on. I'm getting
Daniels, quarterback.
Yeah.
Yep.
Daniels.
He's been compared
Jaden
to
Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, yeah. He's been compared to Lamar Jackson. He's a dual threat guy. Like all these coordinators that they've brought in, I think he fits that system too. So I don't think it's 100%. Well, we're going to stay with Fields, because I do think they stay with Fields, but I just want to throw that out there that I think there is another option there. But as far as scheme, I think the one thing all these coordinators have in common is they all like to get the run game going. Greg Roman, for everything he's great at with the run game and mobile quarterbacks, he's been judged for not getting the most out of the passing game. Doesn't mean that, you can't, but it's something that's there. Des Bryant came out and said that if he was a receiver on the roster and they brought Greg Roman in, he asked for a trade. I think he was in Baltimore the last year. Roman was there, I believe. But I think a lot of it is a zone run. You got the West Coast zone run. Philly, kind of like that Philly offense mixed in with, you got the West Coast and the San Francisco run game. Like you said, you get the Shanahan tree. You got a lot of all of it comes back ultimately to the zone run.
Right.
I think it helps the line too. I mean, if you're not asking your line to pass block 80% of the time, if they're only looking to pass block 50% of the time, or sometimes even 40% of the time, they're fresher. They're able to do it because you're not asking them to do it the entire game. You're not asking them to line up against the Micah Parsons and all these guys and go against them the entire game. You're just like, hey, give us some room to run.
Right.
And I think the big thing with Justin Fields is, I hear all the Jordan Love versus Justin Fields and all these other things, and they talk about all these yards that all these quarterbacks have that Justin doesn't. Justin missed a handful of games. What do you miss?
Yep.
Four games. So I mean, that's even if he throws for 200 a game, that's 800 more yards that he would throw for. But the other thing with him that everybody does, they always want to say he's so good because of it, but then when they judge him, they don't want to give him credit for is his rushing yards.
Yep.
It's still part of the offense. I hear people say, "Oh, the Bears need to get better at running the ball." Well, yeah, most of that rushing did come from Justin, but that's part of the offense. He's still something. Nobody's blaming Lamar Jackson when he's running for 200 yards a game earlier in his career and all this and that.
Josh Allen,
with all the touchdowns this year, I just think that you're going to see a very balanced offense, that they're going to limit what Justin's asked to do. You're not going to turn the ball over to him and be like, okay, go Tom Brady it and throw for 300 yards. That's not where they're at.
Right.
It's not who he is. If he's throwing the ball for 300 yards, it means he's standing in the pocket, and that's never who he's going to be. You're going to get him out on the edge. You're going to let him freelance. You're going to let him get out there. The thing I want to see the most, these third and shorts, fourth and shorts, stop handing off the ball. Keep the ball in his hand and let him create. If he sees somebody open, sometimes he runs and defenses commit and they leave somebody so he could throw them an open pass. There's nothing wrong with taking what the defense gives you. If he goes to run and he gets a few first downs and the defense starts to come up and at safety starts to cheat up, well, now you've got DJ Moore, and if the football gods are shining down on us, Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other side, and you hit one of these guys for an open pass. There's nothing wrong with throwing to open receivers and doing things to get guys open. I think Greg Roman does that really well. I mean, all these guys do. They all have something different they do. I think Greg Roman, we talked about, he's very good at finding an offense that works for who he has, whether it's Colin Kaepernick, whether it was Lamar Jackson, some of the other guys he's been with. I think Clint Kubiak, he is who he is. He's Gary Kubiak's son. Zone run. They're going to put you in the zone run. They're going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to hit you with play action passes. Again, nothing wrong with it. It's worked before. It'll work again. I just think all of them, they're similar, but they all have that thing they stand on. So it'd be kind of interesting to see which way they go. Even this whole 8th overall pick for Justin Fields, I don't know that I make that trade. So if you make that trade, we trade Justin for the 8th overall pick. We have 1, 8, and 9. What are you doing at 1? Are you taking Caleb Williams?
Right.
Or, well, then you've decided you're not going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. You're going to pick at 8 and 9. So you're probably going to go Caleb Williams. Maybe you get Joe Alt at 8. Maybe. Depends what happens behind you the next couple picks. And then an edge rusher, or you go Caleb Williams at 1, one of the edge rushers at 8, and then Newton at 9, and you go to get your edge rusher and your 3 technique. I mean, that all works, but then whatever you do, you're going to miss out on something.
Right.
Take that quarterback. Are you going to stay with Braxton Jones as your starting left tackle? I don't think you do.
I don't think so.
In a perfect world for me, I think you keep Justin. You trade back to 2 because you don't want to move too far back.
Right.
So you move back to 2, let Washington go ahead and get Caleb Williams, let Magic Johnson throw all that billionaire money around and get himself his new shiny toy with Caleb Williams. Bears go ahead and get Marvin Harrison Jr. And then at 9, you go ahead and get yourself either hopefully one of the tackles is still there. If not, then you pivot. But there's just so many moves there that because you do still they don't have a lot of holes, but the one they have are very, very glaring. Like you definitely have to fix them.
For what it's worth, Jaden Daniels is projected to go 11th this year in the draft. So, I mean, if Caleb Williams wasn't the guy that they're after, and let's say that they decide to trade the number 1 pick, and they're like, okay, well, we'll move up, we'll move back a little bit, we'll get Marvin Harrison Jr., but we also want to pick and get rid of Fields. I mean, you're looking at a spot where they could be like, all right, well, we'll trade with Atlanta, we'll give them Fields, we'll use the number 8 pick to get a guy like Daniels, and then you still have that 9th pick. It's
my thing is if you trade out of 1, you're most likely going to get a first next year. You're probably if you trade like with Washington or New England, you're going to swap first this year.
Right.
You probably get a second this year and a first next year. Neither of those teams, New England or Washington, is a quarterback away from being relevant.
Right.
Especially Washington. Like they have so many problems, especially you just got Montez Sweat from them. They traded away Chase Young. They're probably going to be pretty bad again next year.
Yep.
If you trade back with them, you get a first next year. If this doesn't work this year with Justin, Quinn Ewers went back to Texas. He's coming out next year. Sanders from Colorado is coming out next year. Like there are going to be quarterbacks, and you're probably going to have another really high pick again next year because of what you're trading back for. So, like, I just think there's too much value there. Like, you're not going to go into Super Bowl next year. That's not what anybody's expecting. So if this blows up in their face, you can still take a quarterback next year. It doesn't have to be this year. I just think if you could fill those other spots, it's tough though. I mean,
that was my thought process too. Is like if you trade that number 1 pick, you're obviously going to get multiple first-round picks in the future, right? So let's say Justin isn't the guy. Okay, well, you wasted what, 1 more year? I mean, we're fucking Bears fans. We've been used to wasting years left and right around here. So, I mean, you're sitting at a spot where, okay, you waste 1 more year. You finally figure out, okay, that's not the way to go. Now you have 2 first rounds next year, and you go and you make the move to get the quarterback you want. You're putting yourself in a position where you have the chess pieces to make moves that you need to make in kind of a few different avenues, right? And that's one thing that Poles has been really good at, I feel, is moving draft capital to get quality players at quality spots, to recap draft capital that he uses to trade.
I was going to say, give himself more ammo to trade back up, too, when he sees the guy that falls, Roshan.
Right, because I could see a spot where they're like, okay, well, we're going to trade this first-round pick. We also want to get a second round this year to recoup the one that they got rid of for Sweat. And, you do a second that you swap first this year, get a second, and then get 2 future firsts for that first-round draft pick. You're looking at a spot where you build the shit out of the roster this year and next year even, and then you might be just a quarterback away if Fields doesn't develop the way you want him to, and I think that would be my ultimate go-to is to trade that pick. I mean, I've talked about it for weeks now, and it's kind of like beating a dead horse at this point. I think moving on from Fields does more damage than it does help the team. It is going to be interesting to see who this offensive coordinator is going to be, and then it may help us kind of steer the ship in the direction of which we think they're going to go for the draft.
Well, and I think part of this whole offensive coordinator thing, like I think it shows you that I full-heartedly believe this is a Ryan Poles decision, not a Matt Eberflus decision.
Yeah, you said that in the chat about the what's his name?
Frank Reich.
Yeah, Frank Reich.
The fact that he hasn't been interviewed, I think that it just shows volume. Like, you're seeing a lot of guys that have no connection to Eberflus at all, which makes me believe that this is more of a Ryan Poles decision, which honestly it probably should be. I don't know that Eberflus, for all the good that he has done, I don't know that he's shown you the ability to tell him, okay, I'm Ryan Poles, my job is on the line. Matt, you're my guy. Go ahead and pick your offensive coordinator and either make us swim or sink. I think you take it into your own hands and you make the best move for the team.
Talking about Poles, I feel like he's been told he's safe, even if it doesn't work the next year.
I mean, he has to be, right?
You would think he's done a really great job at filling holes on this roster, improving talent. There's some misses he's had, but no GM is 100% at what they do.
Well, and a lot of people, they want to hang him for the Chase Claypool move. If you look at that move isolated away from everything else, you can see why he made the move he did.
100%.
There was not going to be a free agent that was worth going to get at wide receiver. There was not going to be anybody at that point in the draft that you thought was going to be better than what you thought you were getting in Chase Claypool.
Right.
It didn't work. He's not the first guy to make a move that didn't work.
Right.
You know, so what happens, like if he takes a wide receiver in that spot in the first pick of the second round and the dude blows up like that, is it still just as bad as if he traded? Like what difference does it make if he traded for Chase Claypool and it didn't work?
Right. And then he fixed the problem.
Right.
This past year, he got DJ Moore, and then he got rid of Chase Claypool.
Right. And he admitted,
right,
probably wasn't the best move I've ever made. But you don't know that at the time. Like, it's really easy to sit back after the fact and be like, oh, that was a horrible move. Yeah, but if Claypool comes in here and pulls his head out of his ass and scores 10 touchdowns, nobody's complaining.
Right, exactly. Nobody.
So I think he's done way too much good with this roster to be like, oh, well, I think you're on the hot seat. Like, I don't think he is. I think he's showing like he's a good GM. Like, he's good at his job.
And I think he'll get at least one more coach. And that's why I think they call, whatever. I think maybe he kept Eberflus around an extra year to even buy himself a little more time.
Could be.
Or they just have a really good working relationship. They seem to. Whenever they're together, they're talking about the same stuff, and it never seems like a contentious type of thing. So
it could be as simple as there's just nobody that they can hang their hat on and be like, he's the guy to lead this team.
Right.
Like we talked about it in our chat. We looked at all, and we've talked about on the shows. We looked at all the candidates. Ben Johnson. Okay. Yeah. He seems like he's the real deal. So did Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
Just because they seem to be the part doesn't mean they are.
Right.
And if you give a guy $15 million a year and be like, okay, I went out and brought this guy in. He's my second coach I've picked. Oh, he sucked too. Now looking over my shoulder, like my job might be on the line. Like, look, if nothing else, Matt Eberflus is going to run the defense well.
Right.
They're going to be a good defensive team. And honestly, they're going to be a good disciplined team, and they like playing for him. So he has those things. Like, you might as well keep him and find yourself a really good offensive coordinator to run the offense.
Right. Only shitty thing about that is, let's say this Bears offense does take that next step. The offensive coordinator is probably gone at the end of the year, but is
he though?
I think it would depend who it is, right?
I was gonna say, look at the guys they're looking at. Greg Roman, nobody's gonna come knock down Greg Roman's door to make him their head coach.
Right.
The Darrell Bevel, some of these guys that they're looking at, nobody's gonna knock at this point in their career, they're probably not gonna be head coaches. So I think they're looking at guys that are proven coordinators and proven play callers, different. And then you got the Kubiaks and the Cohens and guys like that are still kind of that outer tier of a lot of potential, a lot of knowledge, don't know what they are as a coach.
And I think that's where they want to get away from, right? They had first-time GM, first-time head coach, first-time offensive play caller. Like, at this point, the first-time thing doesn't seem to be working.
No.
So why not bring somebody in who has a little bit more experience in how to develop an offense, how to game plan and put things in place better than, we just got a 15-yard slant route that worked perfectly. Let's do a screen pass this next one. You want a guy who can set up an offense to have these explosive plays. And that's kind of a good transition point, I think, for talking about the playoffs from this past weekend. One thing, there was, if I'm being honest, there were not that many great games that were played this past weekend. except for the Lions and Rams game, I thought was the best game. Everything else was kind of just a wash. And I mean, you know, the Bills beat the Steelers 32-17. Bucks crushed the Eagles 32-9. Texans destroyed the Browns 45-14. KC 26 to over Miami 7. The Lions won 24-23 against the Rams, and then the Cowboys won the Packers won 48-32 against the Cowboys. And that score, that 32, don't get it twisted. That game was not that close. No shot. Like, I was watching that game with my dad, right? And after the first touchdown, I was like, yo, I ain't got to watch the rest of this game. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, no, this is going to be is going to be a game where the Packers just roll this team and I'm going to be pissed. So I'm not going to watch. So, you know, I'm watching Jordan Love over here. This is like the worst case scenario that we talked about before the season started, right? Was like, hey, what if Jordan Love is that guy? And what if the Packers just went from one dude to the next dude to this dude? And the last half of the season, Jordan Love was one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And I hate having to say that.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to do it again next year before I really worry about that. Like, you know, it's one thing to string 6, 7, 8 games together. It's a whole other to do it now that, you know, he was all intent and purpose a rookie to most teams.
Right.
Like, they're going to game plan to stop him now. And we'll see, you know, they always say it's all about adjustments. Like, he made his adjustments. Now the defense and the teams are going to make their adjustments. We'll see if he can adjust again to keep being able to beat them. You know, before I say that he's that guy.
Let me just say this. As somebody who knows how his football life unfolds, God forbid, football gods forbid the Packers from beating the 49ers. Because I already know that means that they're going to the Super Bowl. And
Can you imagine if it's Green Bay and Detroit to go to the Super Bowl?
That'd be wild. Are those two the two best quarterbacks in the NFC right now?
I mean, so you're talking about Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, and Baker Mayfield.
And maybe Matthew Stafford, because Stafford still played at a pretty high level.
In it.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the 4 that are still in it.
I mean, like, to think that those are the 4 quarterbacks.
It sucks, right? To know that you have, at this point in time, you have the, 4th best quarterback if Kirk Cousins comes back to the Vikings?
I read a story today that said that they think Russell Wilson will be in Minnesota next year.
Good. Send his ass to Minnesota because he's garbage. He is garbage. Shit. Go. That at least then we'll have the 3rd best quarterback in
the big thing, though, is, and I asked this while I was watching the game, I was texting with my dad, and I even said it to him, how long until Jerry Jones calls Bill Belichick?
So I was actually out at the bar last night, and I was talking to a guy who brought up that situation of Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick working together. Do you really think Bill Belichick's going to be okay with a GM like Jerry Jones running around?
I mean, you just got fired.
Well, I mean,
do you have a lot of choices?
I feel like he'd have more than just Dallas. At this
point, you're like 70 years old. Like, what are the choices like you're going to go through? You could have the Dallas Cowboys roster, which, let's be honest, it's a really good roster. So you've got that roster, or Atlanta, who has no quarterback and a bunch of holes in the roster. Like, if those are my 2 choices, I mean, I'm taking Jerry Jones in Dallas. You know, he probably goes there. He probably brings Josh McDaniels in as offensive coordinator.
Dog. That dude's saving people's jobs so much.
Dak's going to throw the ball 50 times a game. And like, it's going to be what it's going to be.
I mean, do you think that puts them over the hump, though?
I mean, there's definitely something not right with the Cowboys.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I personally am not a Dak Prescott fan. I think he
Trash.
is. I mean, he's not trash. Like,
Yeah, he's not
Trash.
trash. The
let's
dude
not
just
get
lit
carried
up,
away.
had the number one scoring offense in the NFL.
I mean,
Trash.
the dude can still sling that rock, but
yeah.
I mean,
Now, does he have a tendency to fold in the playoffs? Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
But-
I mean, you know, whether it's Mike McCarthy, whether it's Dak, whether it's Jerry, there's something not right with the Cowboys. I mean, obviously, you know, they say at any given Sunday because anybody can beat anybody. But I mean, if you look at those two teams, like Dallas should have easily beaten Green Bay.
All right, Brent, chill out. We fold in the fourth. Yeah, we do, but we're not
Hey,
talking
who?
about the Bears. We're talking
Bears
about
folding the
the
first. What
Cowboys.
is he talking about?
The Bears just always fold, period.
Like,
But I think the Cowboys have a weird situation that they're in right now because do you extend Dak? I don't think they do.
I thought they already extended him.
No, I think
No.
I think he was up for an extension this offseason.
Oh, that's right. I do remember hearing that.
And
You're
now
right. You're right.
with the way he played in that game, do you extend him? And a Packers fucking defense, guys, that is supposed to be awful, like god awful, right? That's all I heard all season was, oh, this defense is terrible.
Dak was throwing the ball right to him.
Yeah, but still, man,
That
they've
pick that
looked
Jair
pretty good.
Alexander had, it literally was right in his hands. They had another one they dropped.
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah, he's.
I mean,
I don't
Dak-
think they extend him.
Dak said it himself. I suck tonight. Yeah, you really did.
Yeah, you picked the worst day to have the worst game,
Right.
and that's what makes the great quarterbacks versus the okay quarterbacks,
Well, I mean,
right?
that's the whole Lamar Jackson thing too, right?
Right.
Like he always looks bad in the playoffs. Now last year, would they have 14 drops or whatever it was in their loss of the playoffs? So you can't really hang that one on him. But here it is. Okay, you're a really, really good regular season quarterback, but you put it together in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's Kirk Cousins.
I mean, you know, he's gonna get a shot. Like now you're the number one seed. Like they're not the underdog now. Like now you're the number one seed. You're expected to win.
Right.
Like you're gonna be the MVP, your second MVP. You need a Super Bowl.
Do you think he's the MVP this year?
I mean, how is he not?
I mean, Lamar's played pretty well all season. I
You know,
don't like the idea of Brock Purdy being the MVP just because I don't think he does enough. I think
Over
he has.
CMC?
I mean, I think Christian McCaffrey could be, but I don't think a
McCaffrey's not
running
winning
back
it.
is going to
The
win over a
MVP
quarterback.
The MVP is a quarterback award. Like
Right.
a running back, you're going to have to set a record as a running back to win the award.
Yeah.
They might as well call it the quarterback award. Like,
I agree. I think they should have a quarterback MVP and then just a position.
I mean,
MVP.
for me, you know, and I've always been like, I know it's always about like the quarterback on the best team and all these things, but to me, how is the MVP not Josh Allen?
I mean, they turned that team
Like
around.
if you truly look at the term most valuable player, like Josh Allen literally willed his team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep.
He
Like,
did.
the defense didn't play as good as it's supposed to at times. The offense didn't play the way it's supposed to at times. But that guy, every week, week in, week out, no matter who they played, multiple touchdowns, 300 yards, rushing touchdowns, doing it all, playing quarterback and running back. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you don't give it to him, but it would probably go to Lamar Jackson. Number one seed, best record. They beat San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think another game I want to touch on in a situation that I think is another reason why the Bears are kind of in the news with this first overall pick. The Houston Texans, man. Like, can we just give some love to the fact that Lovie Smith, everybody hated him, right? Oh, you screwed us out of the first overall pick.
That dude a statue.
Yeah, for real. You screwed us out of the first overall pick. We hate you. Bryce Young goes to Carolina, and he's booty cheeks, man. He is awful.
Awful.
And now you got CJ and Houston just lighting it up. He was in the MVP category conversation for half the season.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. And that's why I also think that the Bears right now are sitting in this spot where people are like, well, you passed on him last year. And now you're going to pass on Caleb Williams. But let's be honest. I know the Bears. They would have took Bryce Young last year.
Well, so here's my thing. Okay. The whole Brock Purdy conversation.
Yeah.
Stay with me here because I promise it ties in. Everybody says Brock Purdy is a system quarterback. He's only as good as he is because the system is made for the quarterback to look good. CJ Stroud is in the same system. They took, when DeMeco Ryans left San Francisco to go to Houston, he took their passing game coordinator. His name slips in my mind right now, but he is the offensive coordinator there. It is the identical system they run in San Francisco. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan calls the plays in San Francisco.
Right.
You don't have Kyle Shanahan calling plays. But if it's the system that makes Brock Purdy as good as he is, then I'm sorry, but it's a system that makes CJ Stroud look as good as he does.
The only difference, I would say, is the fact that Stroud's a rookie, and nobody thought he was going to be as good as he's played this year,
Brock
right?
Purdy's what, second year?
Yeah, but I want to look at their stats
irrelevant?
real quick. Let me see.
So
Well, I
Brock
guess
Purdy got
Mr.
picked
Irrelevant.
last in the draft, but CJ Stroud got picked in the top 5.
I mean, that is a good argument in that regard. Is like, okay,
you're
one was the
basically
last
talking
pick.
about you're basically talking about an undrafted free agent. I mean, by one pick, he was the very last pick of the draft.
Right.
And honestly,
Yeah.
if he doesn't get hurt last year, I think San Francisco beats Philly last year.
I agree with that. I
agree.
think that proves why Philly looked as bad as they've looked. I don't think they deserved to be in that Super Bowl last year.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. CJ Stroud is very, very good. Or is he? Like, what if next year he comes out and he's just another dude?
I mean, then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, well,
Like, and I know in the world of sports we live in, everything is right now.
right.
But what if it's really not right now?
And I think that the quarterback conversation, one thing I did notice from all the games this past weekend is I don't think there's necessarily a right way to do the quarterback position, but there's definitely a wrong way to do the quarterback position, right? And you're looking at a lot of teams like, oh, well, Jared Goff, for instance, right? He left a team, went to another team. Now they're killing it. He went to a Super Bowl with the other team also. You're looking at Brock Purdy, who's Mr. Irrelevant, like you said, former MVP and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. But then you got a guy like Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield. Like, there are so many different quarterback roads that were traveled to get to these playoff teams right now. So why the hell can't the Bears just accidentally stumble onto the right trail?
Like,
get lost on the right path once, please.
Right. Like, accidentally find your way there.
Right.
But I have to say, like, diehard Bears fan, hate the Packers. I tell you, I find myself rooting for Detroit, and
I do too.
I could not stand Dan Campbell when he was where was he head coach? Miami?
Yeah, I think so.
The dude was awful. He made every wrong choice there was to make as a head coach. I will tell you, he took his lumps, he got into the shot, and the dude hit it out of the park. Like, they talk about, you can hear it in every single player that talks about him, the culture he has created. And like today I saw a whole bunch of videos. I don't know what outlet posted them, but they were videos of him like throughout the season of Hard Knocks and different things. And like things he was talking to the team about that at the time you were like, what is wrong with this dude?
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about shit that just doesn't matter. Every single one of them was something that wound up happening. Like, he talked about things that were going to happen, and they happened. And the team knew what to do because he had talked about it. Like, the dude is just cool. Like, he's a
player's coach.
He was a player on the 0-16 Lions.
Yeah.
And now they just won their first playoff game in 32 years. Like, that's cool. Like, I could dig that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not a Lions fan, but I can get behind that. I can support that, especially if they wind up playing the Packers. I could definitely get behind that against the Packers.
I normally would never root for a division opponent,
I hear
a
you.
rival, but Dan Campbell, I watched him on Hard Knocks.
Mm-hmm.
That dude loves football. He loves being a head coach. That dude cares so much for his players. He cares so much for that city. Like, if the Lions were to go and be the team to represent in the Super Bowl, I would genuinely be okay with that.
Did you hear what he said about Jared Goff after the game?
Yeah, he gave him the game ball and said, "You're good enough for Detroit." That's
Yeah.
dude. That like
Short and simple. He was
hell
like,
yeah.
you know what? He's like, I'm just going to put it like this. You're good enough for Detroit.
Absolutely. I mean, look what they're doing.
Right.
You know, and I think you got to give a guy like him a lot of credit. You know, looking into next week, the matchups, you got Packers, 49ers, Bucks and Lions, Texans, Ravens, and KC and the Bills. I mean, you're setting up for a pretty solid weekend of football.
Yeah.
What do you think out of those the outcomes are, and which one do you guys think are the best matchup?
Joey, you want to go first?
Yeah, Joey, go first.
AFC wise, I think the game to watch is going to be Kansas City and the Bills, and that's not just because I'm a Bills fan, but that's also this is the first time in Mahomes' career he's ever in the playoffs playing in as the away team. Every playoff game he's been since he's been here, it's always been a home, and now he's away, and he's just, I mean, he hasn't won in Buffalo, so I think the AFC. I think that's the game to watch. As much as I would love to see Houston advance and beat the Ravens, I mean, I don't see that happening. NFC wise, I think the game to watch for that is going to be. Yeah, I mean, I'm personally I want to see the Bucks and the Lions, but I think the game to watch is going to be the 49ers and the Packers.
Go ahead, Turtle.
I think in the NFC, first off, I out of everybody that's left, I would love to see San Francisco win. I mean, really, even before the playoffs started, they with everybody in it. I was hoping if I had it my way, it was going to be San Francisco and Miami in the Super Bowl, and whoever won it, I didn't really care. But I'd love to see Kyle Shanahan get a Super Bowl. I'd love to see McCaffrey get a Super Bowl. Kittle, some of those guys. I really, really hope they beat the Packers.
Dude, I'm telling you right now.
I mean, I think they do. Like, I think that defense is just too good. I think Jordan Love is going to struggle. The only thing that they're acceptable to is sometimes they give up big plays. So that kind of worries me because I feel like the Packers that's how they run is on big plays. But I think they're going to have a hard time running the ball. And I mean, you just hope with the week off they had and everything, they're going to come out healthy. You're going to have Nick Bosa on one side, Chase Young on the other. You know, you'd hope that that's enough to keep Jordan Love from feeling comfortable and being able to sit back there and hit them darts that he was throwing against Dallas. I think Detroit absolutely destroys Tampa.
Yeah.
I
think the Eagles quit in that game. That's why I think that game got as bad.
Yeah, I mean, you know, unfortunately, you know, you never want to say people don't care, but you have to remember these dudes are making millions and millions of dollars. They don't all really care that much if they go to the Super Bowl or not.
Right.
Some do. I'm not saying nobody does, but some of the big timers, we're down a couple of touchdowns. I don't want to go out and try that hard.
Right. Business decisions were made.
Right. Like, I don't want to play that hard. I don't want to put my body on the line if I don't have to. But I think Detroit, they're definitely clicking on all cylinders, and I just don't know that Tampa's got enough firepower to stay with them.
If Mike Evans can't catch the ball, then they got no shot.
You know, I mean, for a guy that has wanted to play, you know, other than he got with Tom Brady, but other than that, hasn't got to play much in the playoffs. He sure didn't do anything to help out. But, you know, we'll see. You know, they say, like I said, any given Sunday, anybody can win. But I think Detroit and San Francisco win. On the other side, I just don't think Houston's quite ready yet for Baltimore. The defense is really, really good. The offense is really, really good. You know, it's going to come down to Lamar. Like, if if Lamar Jackson plays mistake-free football, they probably win a lot of games. But and the other game is
KC, Bills, and
right down the line. I think that's the game of the week, regardless of conference. And I think Josh Allen's playing the best I've seen him play. But until they lose, I got to put my money on Mahomes and Kelsey in the playoffs. Them two and Andy Reid in the playoffs. I mean, it's like betting against Tom Brady. Even if you think they're going to lose, you still go with them. It's like I could sit here and tell you I think Josh Allen's going to have a hell of a game. I think he's going to throw for a lot of yards. I think he's going to run in a touchdown. I think he's going to show why he should be the MVP this year. I got to go on Mahomes. It's just one of those things. I read a stat today. If he wins if he wins the Super Bowl, so he's got to win 3 more playoff games this year. He'll be at 15 career playoff games. He'll be the 3rd most playoff wins for a quarterback in football history, and he's only his 6th season. Like when you talk about records like that, where a guy could finish the year trailing only Brady and Montana in playoff wins,
and Brady's just on a level of his own. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's. This weekend is going to be a bunch of good games. I agree with you on the Bucs-Lions. I think the Lions go in and they roll them in Detroit. I think that game is going to be over by halftime. I don't think the Texans have what it takes to keep up with the Ravens on offense. I think the Bills beat KC simply because I think that at times KC looks good, but a lot more this season they've looked suspect with drops, and Mahomes has been getting frustrated, and Travis Kelce's not playing the best right now.
I mean, would you be like if would you really be training as hard and doing all those things when you're dating Taylor Swift?
That's right. If I'm sitting at a T Swift concert, my girl's up on stage, I'm doing little heart emojis to her while she's dancing and singing. Shit. I just won the Super Bowl last year. I could take a year off.
Up to the football games in a Travis Kelce coat,
she rocking in the box, like
all you have to do is not screw that up, and you're the dude, like you're literally the guy that everybody's watching.
Yeah,
and you're not even the most famous in the of the couple. Like by far.
Hey, that's okay. He did it right.
Right. Oh, hey,
sign me up.
Absolutely.
I'll be a trophy husband if I have to be.
You're the number 1 tight end in football, possibly gonna be the greatest ever, if not one of. And your girlfriend or wife, whatever they wind up being, she makes way more money than you and is way more popular than you, and you're only popular because you're
dating her. Hey, sign me up.
But it was like all those years with Tom Brady. Like, imagine you're Tom Brady and your wife, well, now ex-wife, and your wife is the one that makes more money than you.
I also think maybe Kelsey's a little worried about being in a song, so he's gonna just make it work.
You definitely don't. He's
just making it work at this point.
You don't want to piss off T Swift,
but
them Swifties are crazy.
So I mean, I see the Bills beating KC. As much as I love, Andy Reid's commercials, chefs, and all that stuff, it's great.
MPB.
But the one that I'm most worried about is the Packer 49er game. And I know people who are like, oh, the Bears are out of it. Why do you even care? Because this was supposed to be the year that Green Bay Packer fans suffered.
They did at the beginning of the year.
It was supposed to be the whole time, man. It was supposed to just be the Packer fans were going to be miserable. And yeah, the Bears weren't good, but they're never good. So I'm okay with that. But the Packer fans were going to be down there with me.
Remember they were talking about, what if the Packers have a top 3 pick? Do they go for a quarterback?
Oh, yeah, man. What 49ers need to do is they need to get Robbie Gould on the phone and be like, hey, man, we need to bring you on the team just for this game. We're not going to have you kick. We just want your mojo here for the game.
Do you know that one of my fantasy leagues, the dude, which is a dynasty league, the dude that, he finished second, but he wound up picking up Tom Brady the week of the championship. And I was like, I know this is Dynasty League, but do you know something I don't know, or was that a mistake? And he was like, the dude knows how to win championships. I want that on my team. Same thing.
Oh, come on.
Same thing. Bringing Robbie Gold.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You
not
know,
gonna
play.
I could use a fuck the Packers at the end of a game-winning field goal again. You know, hey.
Well, here's the bright side of that game. Like, yeah, it's a game to watch, but at the same time, like, 49ers are coming in fresh. They're all healed up. You know, they had a good week. You know, Packers are banged up.
And they got
Hold on.
McCaffrey.
Hold on. I don't know who this is.
Polar
Do
Knight.
not call me a Packer fan. I will.
Does the little purple thing mean he's on Twitch?
Yeah, it means he's on Twitch. I will. Listen, you call me a lot of things.
Put that up again. I was too busy looking at everything else.
You call me a lot of
He's
things.
a
I've been
Packer
called
fan.
racial
So
slurs in my
awesome.
life. I've been called a lot of
Me,
things.
They're one fan. First off, they don't even know how to spell. They put THER for their. You're gonna come on here and call out my boy Ace. I'm gonna call out your bad spelling.
Like,
Get your shit right before you come at Ace.
Hold up. I've been called a bunch of bad names in my life. Racial slurs, all kinds of things. The most offensive thing I've ever been called in my life is a Packer fan.
Just happened. Yep.
Period. You call me whatever you want. I don't care. You call me anything. Don't ever get it twisted.
But
No Packers here. You know why there's no Packers here? Because
Packers suck.
the Packers suck. And that's how I'm going to wrap this show. I'm frustrated now. I wasn't going to tell this story on the air. Okay. So I originally am from Chicago, forced to live in Wisconsin as a youth, and came across this picture that it triggered a lot of emotional stress from when I was younger. And Brent's right here. My mother put me in a Brett Favre jersey for school pictures when I was in second grade. Yeah, what exactly? The only reason I could think that in her brain logically was just to spite my dad. That's it. Just to be like, hey, I know your dad loves the Bears, but I'm gonna put you in a Packer jersey and ruin your entire childhood.
This is nowhere near as bad as having to wear a Packer jersey. So it's not, but I once was put in a Troy Aikman jersey, and a Cowboys hat with a football for school pictures.
At least it's Troy Aikman.
Well, I mean, and of course I pulled it off because I'm the stud that I am.
And you're a Bears fan though, so
Right.
like it's not like, but okay, here we go. My mom over here trying to weigh in saying it wasn't her fault.
No, hold on.
I don't think so.
Ace, can we just talk about what's really important? Kudos to your mom for watching the show.
Hey man, that's my mom's. You know,
Like
she raised a
seriously.
good boy. Made questionable decisions on what I should wear for school pictures, but I thought I put those in the back of my memory, and I didn't.
I want to know who Polar Knights is.
But he's mad. He's big mad. He's like, I'm not an English major. My spelling is messed up. He says, thanks, man, for being a dick. Hey, I'm a dick. It's just the way it is. If you don't like it.
He came at you about being a Packer fan. What
That's
was I
right.
supposed to do?
I've been, like I said,
I was just defending my boy
cross that
Ace.
line. You don't cross that line. Some things you don't do in this world, and accusing a diehard Bear fan of being.
You don't pull on Superman's cape. And
That's right.
You don't accuse Ace of being a Packer fan.
That's right. And on that note, Mom, I'm still going to have to discuss this whole thing with you. I'm going to have to go to counseling and revisit this trauma from my childhood. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It was a hell of a show.
I think we need one more Packers suck before we go.
Oh, absolutely.
Packers suck.
And on that note, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you go like, follow, subscribe. Undefeated Sports Network, YouTube, Twitch. I'm on Turtles Take is right up there. I don't have my handle up there.
Follow me on X because I have like
X. Yeah, it's not Twitter.
followers.
It's X now. Follow me on TikTok. Yeah, I'm on TikTok. That's right. Follow. But thank you guys for tuning in. Hold on, we got one more comment. Let's see who it is. Foster, my boy Foster. Nice. Dude, always watching. All right, guys. Have a good night. We will see you next week.